For this project, I chose to take a look at decision support systems within the sports industry with a specific focus on performance and travel. Why sports? Or why would decision support systems be valuable for sports? Who cares about sports? Honestly, a lot of people care about sports. Sports have a huge economic impact in any country. You can see by this slide that college players are making millions. LeBron James is a billionaire. Then you have Lionel Messi worth millions and millions of dollars. And then these different sporting organizations are worth billions of dollars. And the difference between a sporting organization and, say, a technology company is that sporting organizations depend on humans and humans performing at a high level to win games and thus increase profits. Therefore, decision support system can be extremely valuable because you can't just put algorithms in a computer and have that computer perform. You have to be able to put the algorithm in the computer and have the computer provide evidence or data that then can be taken to a coach to be carried out. Why? Talked about it. Money. Talked about it again. Humans. Availability is the best ability. Athlete is injured, then they may lose the game and money will be lost. And then the travel side. A lot of people do not think about the travel side. So why not create a decision support system that optimizes the travel that these athletes experience? And then how is this done? It's all dependent upon what organization you're in, how much money that organization has, what sport is it, and so on. I just went ahead and put the definition of decision support system up here, and I'm just going to read this off, but a computer-based information systems that provide objective evidence relating to the decision of organizations. Once again, sports works with humans, therefore, there will be a need for objective and subjective evidence, and a decision support system that is appropriate for a sports team is probably not appropriate for, say, a company that relies on technology to generate profits. This is the typical life cycle of an athlete during his or her training days. They train, they recover, practice, travel, compete, recover, with the most important being compete. Therefore, you would like a DSS to be effective in getting the athlete prepared to compete. So what is used in sports? Well, what I'm going to talk about is considered the traffic light system. And what this is you take data that is collected from athletes. You can use subjective data via wellness questionnaires. You can have them fill out daily monitoring questions. Every organization is going to have a different form that the athlete's going to fill out. And then you can also use performance measures tests. Some people use a max sprint test, some people use vertical jump, some people use isometric pulls. And you take that data along with data that has been previously collected or that you can find in the literature, and you utilize that to then make an informed decision on whether that athlete is ready to train. If the athlete gets a red light, that means do not train. Athlete gets a yellow light, that means he or she may need modifications for training. And if the athlete gets the green light, then he or she is ready to train. Ultimately, what happens is in organizations, there is too high a volume and too high of intensity over long periods of time. Therefore, this traffic light system helps to provide proper planning of training and adds in a variety of intensities for practice days, as well as maybe additional recovery when it is needed for the athlete. There are complications with this because it is involving subjective along with objective measures that then need to be interpreted by human beings called the coaches. Whether you're dealing with an individual sport or team sport athlete, what factors are important? You also have to make sure the test that you're using, whether it's subjective or objective, is valid and reliable. Obviously, with humans, there's going to be some variation with testing, and you have to be able to decipher between good variation versus variation that needs to be looked at deeper. Is the system going to be too conservative? Can you imagine going to a head coach and saying, hey, coach, LeBron James can't play today because he did a little too much work yesterday. So you need to make sure your monitoring system is sensitive enough to really highlight fatigue and not just maybe fatigue. And then a lot of these traffic light systems, they occur the day of training. Therefore, the results may have a hard time being implemented that day and may have to be implemented the next day. And then is it really serving the purpose that it should be serving? And then is there enough data to make an informed decision? There needs to be enough data to provide valuable insight to the coaches. And these are just factors that could go into DSS for an athlete. And once again, this will all depend on the organization and what sport you play. Once again, data must be valid, must be reliable, it must be efficiently accessed, because we are dealing with sport coaches that don't have computer science backgrounds. So all of this data needs to be in a user-friendly format. And then I'm not going to read this off, but these are just some things that need to be thought about when data analytics is included with the traffic light DSS. One of the main things would be, do we use data from 3 weeks prior to this training session? Does that really matter? Are we using percentage change? Are we going to use absolute change? Just some things that need to be considered. And then communicating the findings. Once again, you're working with coaches that don't have a computer science or mathematical background typically. So finding a nice way to put graphs and pictures on one sheet and provide that to coach within a context of maybe game load or previous practice load, that's how it needs to be done. So if your DSS cannot provide this, then you're going to be hard pressed to find a coach that cares. As for the travel, this is just an example of a model architecture of a scheduling decision support system. See at the top, you have your data sources, and then you have your data input. All of this is in regards to travel. So you got to think about dynamic and fixed constraints, such as you can't change your schedule, you can't change the location of the city. And then you have dynamic, where you are unable to change your standings, how difficult the game is, or the weather. So this model has to take in both of those considerations. And then you can see at the bottom, the ideal output would be a flight timetable and a practice timetable. And obviously, the less travel that the athletes have to experience, the better that their performance theoretically should be. And then this is just an example of automatically invoked DSS for daily practice schedule for upcoming 7 days. You can see there's 3 different formats, but I just chose to highlight this one. You see a lot of automation, real time. This differs from the performance DSS, whereas the computer can do a lot of the work, whereas for the performance, the coaches need to do a large portion of the work. So what knowledge was gained? There's a lot of difficulties in creating a DSS. Okay, so a lot of people just think sports, you go out and play, and the coach just plays whoever is ready. But what about the training that went into that? What about the proper planning of practice prior to the game? And I just have a higher appreciation for the intricate details that are involved. And when it comes down to it, just your DSS should be designed to deliver effective and efficient information that is easy to digest for anybody that is interpreting the data. And the big reason that this is important for this industry is because the impact of a DSS within sport can mean the difference between you have LeBron James playing in a very important game versus some guy on the Vancouver Grizzlies, which don't even exist anymore, but playing in place of LeBron, and then ticket sales are down, the team loses. It could change a lot. So you really want to make sure your athletes are ready, and that would require a DSS that is, once again, effective, efficient, manageable, cost-effective, and easily interpreted by the coaches. Thank you.